how is what we're going through, what's going to happen? What's next?
It's time to bring in the writers.
The problems that we have, how are we going to solve them? And what are the steps to do that? And I thought, there's a song there. Mm-hmm. There's a song there.
We have had a songwriting contest going on at the York Theatre for the last several weeks. We decided to take our Musicals in Mufti brand, if you will, and put it to work in our songwriting competition. So this is Songwriters in Mufti, and it's a chance for composers and lyricists to put together songs and share new work with the world, just like we usually do on our stage, but we can't on our stage these days. The MTTP, the Musical Theatre Training Program, is taking those songs and putting them into our summer initiative this summer, and it's all online and it's happening right now. Let's meet our first set of composer lyricists, Stephen Silverstein and Andrew Fornarola. They wrote what I think is going to be our opening number. All right, let's get everybody in a room.
Before we go any further, on the count of 3.
Happy birthday, dear Andrew. Yeah, hey!
I'm Drew Fornarola. I'm a songwriter, and with Stephen, I wrote the opening number that you guys are using.
Hi, I'm Stephen. I'm a teacher. I'm a coach. I have a podcast, and I'm a composer. And with Andrew, I wrote this song that we're excited for you to sing.
Welcome back to the York. It's so nice to return from the sidelines, but the current administration has drafted a few new guidelines.
I heard about this contest and I wanted to work with Drew, so I spoke to Drew about it, and then I had a melody in mind, and then I sent it to Drew, and then he added an entire new verse to it. So I set that verse, and then he added a tag. So I said, so we worked back and forth. We team did it.
Side effects of theater are intense and often include.
Was it mostly FaceTime, or was it? Yeah, FaceTime, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah, keep in mind, everyone out there in the world, that all of this has been happening during the shutdown.
And they start to think for themselves, learning teamwork, self-esteem, and more.
I mean, I've been looking for things like everyone to keep myself creative through the quarantine. And Stephen approached me with this opportunity, and I was just very happy to get a chance to do something.
You've had people perform your stuff and do things, and what is that like for you? Is it sort of like, that's me up there? You know, what does that feel like?
I've been blessed, and many times have had songs of mine sung, and I've been in the back, not having to play it. A long time ago, I wrote a song with an actress named Ruth Williamson and a lady named Barbara Walsh, who actress, done a lot of Broadway stuff. She sang it in a benefit, and I snuck in on a Saturday and during the rehearsal in the back, and I listened to it. I was like, it was so excited. And then I wrote a song with Stephen Cole, and we called it "I'm a Mommy Too," and it was a comedy song. People laughing and all this stuff, and there was an audience full of all different ages and all this stuff. And I literally said, "Did you like that number? You seem to be laughing a lot." I said, "Oh my God, that was so fantastic! I can relate to that song." And da-da-da. So for me, the thrill of my work being done, either me playing it or me as an audience member, is thrilling.
You know, we start things off as writers, but then we continue to add collaborators through the process. You might add music director, performers, and then finally the audience. And watching an audience watch work of yours is a particular thrill.
If you have one word of advice for the kids as they work on a new piece, they've never collaborated on a piece of musical theater from the ground up in this way. They've never worked on a new piece. They're used to getting a songbook and an established song and putting it together. So what piece of advice would you have for kids who are doing this for the first time?
It's a sort of unique opportunity to be able to be the first person to sing a song, because there is no roadmap as you described. I would just say that they should feel free to ask questions and really explore what's on the page, because they're the first people that are going to set the way that this is done from now on, probably.
To absorb what is there and not be afraid to speak up and to be able to voice their thoughts and concerns, because that's and their interpretation, because it is an interpretive art, and when you're doing it's a collaborative art, as Drew said. So when the actor comes in, they add so much more, and sometimes stuff that the writers don't even know about. So it's always, I love that process.
And I just want to say thank you again to you guys for first for submitting your work to the York, and second for allowing us to take it this next step into the education program. I think it's going to be great for everybody.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
It's my pleasure, and thank you guys once again for being on board, and I can't wait to see what's next.
He was Orin Scrivello, and I was Audrey at the Ben Franklin Middle School musical. Hello.
Oh, hello there.
Hello. Am I in? Oh, wait.
I can hear you, but I cannot see you. Oh, we are.
There I am. There I am.
You're sideways.
I'm still sideways.
You're still sideways.
Oh, how do I?
Oh, now you're.
Oh, this is okay.
Now you're sure. That's fine. You're in portrait mode, and I'm in the TARDIS.
You are.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm in that,
Awesome.
but it's the most recent TARDIS.
Hi, Jimmy. Nice to meet you officially.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you for doing this.
Oh my God, I'm super excited. My name is Rebecca Lee Lerman. I was inspired by my fellow Asian American actors and singers and dancers who turned into playwrights and directors and producers, and I really wanted to follow in their footsteps. And I picked up a guitar, started taking guitar lessons back in 2016. Wow. And and I really started writing when I got on a cruise ship, and I did a cruise gig.
As a performer?
As a performer, yes.
Gotcha.
And I
Okay.
took my guitar there. Sunshine, his lips against mine, and the sweetness of unknown tomorrow. And that's really when I started to write, because I had a lot of time on my hands. I wrote my first musical there.
Huh.
And now that we're in a pandemic, all these songwriting challenges started to come up, and just wanted to keep my songwriting skills polished, and I came upon the York Theater's songwriting contest, and yeah, I'm really appreciative of just giving me the opportunity to make some art in this time.
Having that experience to work with a composer and lyricist in the room is a real treat, and
Oh yes,
and students don't get that opportunity very often at all, in my experience.
I love it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and you can work on it together, and you can work on her. I mean, she's a youngin', right? She's the youngest student, but your subject material was kind of so perfect, right?
Oh, wonderful.
You know, she's 14, and she will be a freshman in high school this year in Houston.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So she'll have a really interesting, you know, you're writing sort of looking back, and she may be singing it like.
Yeah, that's kind of when it all happened for me.
Wow.
So that's great.
The York is all about supporting new writers, as well as sort of unearthing the gems of, or not so gemmy gems of history. You know, part of the mission that I love, now that we have an education department, we've only existed for 5 years. So we're kind of one of the up and comers as far as education departments in New York. And sort of trying to weave ourselves into this process, I think is really, really important, especially for our younger students. They need to see that musical theater isn't just open the book that you got from MTI. They need to know that they will write and create, you know what I mean? And that's not this dead thing that comes in the mail.
Thank you for this opportunity. Diversity and inclusion, it works. You know, representation is very important in this industry. I think we have a very important role in showcasing different voices and showing that we're all human, and especially in this time.
Yeah.
How can the first time feel so familiar? Oh, whoa, how can the first time feel so familiar? He was Orin Scrivello, and I was Audrey.
Let it be up to us.
Thank you. Thank you for being on the right side of history.
Hi there, everyone. It's Jimmy Ludwig coming to you from Joe Allen's. I'm actually standing behind the bar right now. This is so weird. I shouldn't be at Joe Allen's. I should actually be at the York. So for a coming recording, I'm actually going to find a picture of the York stage and try to be on the York stage somehow. But anyway, this is Joe Allen's from Behind the Bar.
You try and write a script. You laugh and sigh. Why a script?
Hey, Steven.
Jimmy, what's up?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thanks for having me.
Sure.
I'm really excited.
Pull your hair and write a song. You yell and swear. Why a song?
Give us your story.
I grew up in Alabama, got interested in theater in high school. I've always been sort of interested in music. And sort of at the last minute for college pre-registration, I decided to really pursue theater. So I went to the University of Montevallo,
Okay.
which is in Alabama. It's a very small public school. And they, every year for their homecoming competition, because they don't have a football team, which is very strange for an Alabama school. For their homecoming tradition, they put up 2 competing student-written, student-led, student-produced one-act musicals.
Wow.
In like a full production, and they go head-to-head. And it's completely intramural, so you just, you decide if you want to be purple or gold, which are like our 2 school colors. It's like a football game. I mean, we have cheerleaders for each side. We have with banners, alumni come back and
elements
cheer
of
us on.
competition, the whole thing.
Yeah, so I mean, if you do a good 11 o'clock number, people are like trying to get up in their chairs to cheer. It's like, okay, all right.
The next few days are filled with praise and friends and food and booze. You're on a roll, you've got a hit. But then come the reviews.
I was a performer for the first year, and then I worked on music and lyrics in some capacity up to writing the whole thing for the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really got the writing bug. And so then we moved here, and I write with my wife, Rebecca. We wrote some short 15-minute musicals that we did in festivals. And then most recently, we've been working for the last 5-6 years on our musical Pedro Pan, which is a musical about a Cuban immigrant boy who comes to the U.S. without his parents right after communism takes hold.
Wow.
That's our big project of love that we've been working on in various fringe and nymph capacities the last 5 years or so.
Talk about the song.
How when you write, you don't always know the outcome of your labor.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes that's frustrating, and sometimes it's exciting, and it's both. And or those first ideas that you have, and how sometimes that is exciting and painful, and all the things,
Yep. I've been lucky enough in my career to collaborate on a bunch of new musicals. I want these kids to have at least a taste of what that experience is like, and to know that they can come to the table if they're smart, and if they're humble, and if they're really thinking, they can come to the table with ideas. You know what I mean? But only if they're smart and if they're humble.
Honestly, one of my favorite parts of the process is, when the actor comes in and does something more magical than you thought of.
yeah. And then together
you
build that in. I mean, it's a really exciting thing.
They go, this is what you meant here. And you go, yeah, that's what I meant there. Just appreciate the focus on the art, on bringing this stuff to life and supporting work. And I'm just really excited to dig in.
Awesome. Me too. Nice to meet you. Meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Yeah.
That first show at the York, I fell in love with one look, but I couldn't see what else it took.
I'm Koya. I'm a composer. I write lyrics sometimes, but I feel more comfortable in the music world. And I've been writing musicals for, I guess, about 5 years now. I studied classical composition in my undergrad, and then I was fortunate to be accepted into the BMI Musical Theater Workshop after I graduated to continue writing music, which is how I met Frankie Claire Francis. We met at BMI, and we're in it together. I'm from Woodstock, New York, but right now I live in Ridgewood, Queens. Frankie and I are actually working on a new show together called Impossible Green.
Wow.
About climate change and capitalism.
Awesome. So it's Claire Francis, but Frankie is
Frankie. Yeah, I always, it's sort of hard on Zoom, but yeah, Claire Francis or Frankie. I know it's kind of a mouthful, but yeah. So we met at the BMI Musical Theater Writing Workshop because I'm there as a lyricist. So you sort of are there for words or music, and I'm there for words. My undergrad is actually musical theater performance. I grew up acting, singing, dancing, that kind of thing, and I've always sort of written my own music and played a bunch of instruments. And then when I was in college, I started writing musicals for the stage specifically, and I went to the Kennedy Center for one of my shows called Fostered Love. It's an original musical about foster kids, and it ended up winning an award with the Kennedy Center in 2018, and that's sort of what made me think, wait, maybe this is what I want to do. I also write plays. I'm sort of a multi-hyphenate. Any way I can make theater, I will, is sort of my motto.
I want to be a stage manager at the York in New York. My time to shine in the limelight. Never get sleep up till midnight.
I'm originally from Michigan, as we just talked about. I'm from small town Michigan. Moved to New York a couple years ago to, find the dream or whatever. I still do some acting here and there. I audition sometimes, mostly for new work, actually, just because that's obviously the passion. I just thank you so much again. I'm just really excited about this. I think, obviously, Sequoia and I are both so passionate about, new work and new musical theater, and we both teach and work with kids as well, so I think that this is a really exciting opportunity.
This is so fun.
Good.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
It's great to have you both on board. Okay. So, updates. We are halfway through interviewing our composers. We've got a bunch more starting today. I have 3 weeks to bring this together, and it looks like I may be losing a student. One of my more talented students. I just don't know if this person can stay with us. It's breaking my heart. So, trying to figure out how that's going to work. We'll figure it out. Isn't that what pandemics are about? Figure it out. Okay, figure it out.
If I am elected as class president, your every concern will be addressed, your tiniest needs will all be met. If you allow me to humbly serve the 7th grade, I have a list of any changes to be made.
Hey!
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Well, are you at Don't Tell Mom? Where are you?
I'm actually behind the bar at Joe Allen's.
Yeah, Joe Allen.
Because
that's amazing.
The room behind me is we have a toddler, and it's not, you don't want to see what's actually back here.
So, there we go. How's everybody doing?
Everybody's doing great.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm Peter Gwynn, and basically I got into it with Jody here. His window's down there. Jody was the musical director for an improv group that I started called Baby Wants Candy. And we performed, oh yeah, that's us. Yeah. We did fully improvised musicals. And we hit a point where we had improvised, I think, over 800 musicals.
Wow.
And one day after the show, I was talking to Jody and I just said, I bet if we improvised 800 musicals, we could write one. And it's been really fun, so we've kept doing it.
I'm Jody Shelton. I got started in the comedy music thing back at the Second City in Chicago, where I met Peter. This was back in the 90s, back in the olden times. And it all started because of a lie. I said, someone said, can you improvise music? I said, sure. And I didn't know really what that meant.
Yes,
so I got hired there. And,
yes,
and then Peter and I both toured with Second City, but we were in different touring companies. But then my friend Allie Davis asked me, she was like, we're trying to improvise a musical over at Improv Olympic. Would you be interested in coming over and trying to do that? And I don't remember anything I've ever improvised except for the first song I ever improvised with Peter Gwynn and the rest of the cast of Baby Wants Candy. The suggestion was Steve's Job. And the opening number was, "We're gonna do it right." I remember it like it was yesterday. That was probably 19. What was that? 97, Gwen? 98? I don't know.
Yeah, right around there. It was very meaningful for all of us because our previous accompanist was a very accomplished musician who loved things like experimenting with time signatures and had a lot of classical training. And so he's very talented, not the easiest guy to improvise with.
Sure.
And then he was sick, and Jody came in and gave us 1, 2, 3, 4. It was and we were like, "Oh my God, we're all good, and he's good, and this is great."
Guy.
And we've got a new musical called "Oh Those Midsummer Nights."
It is basically a 60s style beach musical with the plot of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Really fun, and we were gearing up for our first reading, and then the world shut down.
Yes.
So now,
how many things in the future, looking 10 years from now, looking back, how many things are going to start? Everything was going great, and then the world stopped.
And you have a fantastic virtual background as well. Tell me about yours.
It's the living room from the Golden Girls.
In this world that we live in, chaos is a given, with problems that have driven us mad. The past is best forgotten, the present's pretty rotten. The future, how could it be not as bad?
Matthew, it's so good to see you. It's been forever. Yeah.
Fabulous.
As do you.
I wrote this little show with Stephen Cole called After the Fair. It's a four-hander. Jimmy was, of course, the young, handsome barrister from London who sweeps...
Wait a minute, you played that role with the York Theatre production?
I sure did. Yes, sir.
And it's on the cast album, so if you listen to the cast album, you get to hear it, too.
Jimmy, I saw you do it. You were wonderful.
Thank you. It was a beautiful production. We had such a good time doing it.
I actually started writing lyrics in high school. I went to an all-boys high school. A Franciscan brother was my mentor. His name was Brother Bernard, and he was a brilliant man. He decided rather than do the Fantastics or Bye Bye Birdie, that we would write our own musical. So I kind of knew I wanted to do that. So I went to NYU. But I went into the experimental theater wing there because I wanted to get a liberal arts education. So I went to the undergrad drama, and I was in ETW, and that got me involved in gay theater. And then eventually, in 1983, I applied to the BMI Musical Theater Workshop. By that time, I had written the book and lyrics for a gay musical called Bar None that the Glynes did a reading of in 1982. There were so many talented writers in my BMI class in the mid 80s, and only Lynn Ahrens and Steve Flaherty made it. Everybody else kind of fell by the wayside or did other things. I went into nonfiction writing. I wrote about classic movies. I also worked as a talent agent, assistant. I did a lot of stuff. But then in the early 90s, I really wanted to go back to it. So I started, I wrote a Disney demo. I was commissioned to write a Disney demo with a composer named Norman Knoll, that Faith Prince and Liz Calloway were the singers. Disney didn't buy it, but then through that I got to know Stephen Cole. And I said to Stephen, I want to write a musical comedy about working with a gossip columnist, because that was one of my jobs that I had. And I said, who do you think should write the music? Because I don't know anyone. And he said, Matthew Martin Ward. So we started writing the Lady in Penthouse Band. The York did it. It was under development there for years. We did a reading. We did a Mufti. Matthew and I just applied for a major award the other day with What's Next and 3 other songs. We thought the song, well, the thing that's great about What's Next is as a song, first of all, it would not exist if it wasn't for the Yorks contest. It really wouldn't. So I said to Matthew, let's make it have a little heft to it.
Okay. My name is Matthew Martin Ward, and as Jimmy mentioned earlier, I have written a show with Steve Cole called After the Fair. Steve Cole is indeed a connector and instigator.
Yes,
and,
he is.
So is Michael Levine, who I believe somehow facilitated our introduction. And I'm from Chicago, and I wrote a couple of things that were basically had readings in Chicago, very informal ones. I did lyrics for those. And this is where I learned that lyrics are really, really difficult, and good lyricists are hard to find. I'm sort of a lyricist the way Richard Rodgers is a lyricist. It's like close, but, not necessarily it. Grew up listening to the Golden Age scores, the whole Rodgers and Hammerstein, Carousel, South Pacific, Oklahoma. I wrote wrote After the Fair. That was the first show that I wrote that actually had productions happen. That show's been done in many, many productions.
Matthew and I are going. We're writing more, and if you just search for Matthew and me, you'll come up not only with what's next, but you'll come up with 2 or 3 other songs that we've written.
We will get all of you together next week for a sing through, and be on the lookout for that email from me. This will be the closing number if all works out, and then each kid will have individual solo.
Okay, we are so thrilled and honored to have been chosen for this.
Thanks. It was a no-brainer. I mean, it's absolutely perfect. Everybody wants that question answered right now. I mean, what the hell is next? I mean, what's coming? Every day I look at the news and think, what world am I in?
We carry on, and the York obviously is carrying on, and Matthew and I are carrying on, and you're carrying on, and that's, what else are we supposed to do, And
Well,
thank you, Jimmy.
So much, and thank you for this song challenge, as I'm calling it, because it's really been good for Peter and me. We've been going like, okay, we can do good fast. This is good.
I remember 1965 in a country church singing freedom songs. Good people struggling to survive, asking why must this take so long? Late this evening I can hear through my window high above young marchers singing back the fear against the chill of a dream gone wrong.
There you are.
There I am. Wonderful. Well, listen, I am honored and grateful to be included in this. This is great.
Thank you.
My name is Cy Khan. It's spelled S-I-K-A-H-N. I am a civil rights union and community organizer and musician. And this is what I've been doing for 52 years now. I got my start during the Southern Civil Rights Movement of the 1960s, which was one of many struggles in this country by African Americans for some measure of justice, of recognition, of opportunity. In some ways, it's a struggle to make real the promises that this country makes to people who come here, who are here, who would like to be here. I worked with an organization called the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. It's known as SNCC from the initials, SNCC. It's pronounced SNCC. It was the wing of the Southern Civil Rights Movement that was primarily made up of young people, teenagers, people in their early 20s. And we had a particular philosophy, which was that the way to accomplish change is not by leading other people, not by doing things for other people, but by helping people speak for themselves, do things for themselves, and be their own leaders. So in SNCC, we didn't stay in offices in Atlanta or Washington or New York. We lived and worked among the people. I was in Forest City, Arkansas, which has, if there's something in a name, this is not a good name to have. It's spelled Forrest.
Oh.
It is named for the Confederate cavalry leader, General Nathan Bedford Forrest, who, after the war, was one of the founders of the Ku Klux Klan. He was the first. He was the first Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, a totally evil man, a major slaveholder. He may have also been a coward. There's some evidence, at least, that at the Battle of Vicksburg, he abandoned his men and rode away. Definitely,
what a great guy.
Yeah, what a great guy. I lived actually in a funeral home owned and run by Mrs. Florence Clay in the heart of the Black community. Every once in a while, I'd be called on to help with an embalmment or to carry a very heavy body. This is not my idea of ideal lodging, but I think it's a good example of what Stick believed, that you are there with the people, and whatever it means to be there, that's what it takes. It's absolutely my experience in Forest City, Arkansas, in the summer of 1965.
Before we go forward, I wasn't going to do this, but I think it's really, this is the moment for it, which is, first of all, I'm just overwhelmed that you're with us. I just think in this time, at this day, I just think it's wonderful.
This is where my heart is. This is where I've spent my life. I am so proud of the York Theater Company, my friends for 20 years, that you're doing this. It's a wonderful thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Here's the thing. The student that I selected to sing your song, he has his own group and he writes his own stuff. And we started working together on this, and we were rehearsing just another song, a musical theater song. And I was talking about you, and I was talking about this. And he came to me about 2 weeks ago and he said, hey, I've been marching a lot for the Black Lives Matter protests.
Okay.
And
this is great.
I wrote a song and we just recorded it and made a video. Would you like to see it? Could I show it to you right now?
I would. Oh, absolutely. I would love to see it.
A second.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear it now? Good. Okay.
Got it.
Just a little while longer. Fight on. Just a little while longer. Fight on.
Ooh.
Just a little while longer. And everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be the fight for freedom is so long, even though we're all equal and not. They're trying to tear us down. How many people have to die? No justice, no peace. Keep fighting till we're free. Don't forget the days as the Black lives go away. Get your feet off my leg. Get your bullet off my chest. I feel like I can't breathe. Hey, it's you doing, not me. For days, and we won't ever stop. I am for days till we reach that mountain top.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. As the Irish would say, that's fucking awesome. That's beautiful.
Isn't that lovely? Yeah.
And talking about a talent, that is a serious talent. No, actually, I've spent my life as a civil rights union community organizer. There's a law. That's what I do. That's how I earn a living. And the music is. I once told a reporter that my music was a hobby that got out of hand. Right? It's true. It's true. I was a parking lot picker, blues fanatic. I actually have the LPs of Robert Johnson when Columbia released them in the 60s.
Wow.
Not the modern stuff, all this stuff. And I was active in a lot of movements. I worked for the Mine Workers Union, the Textile Workers Union. I've worked on I mean, this is what I do. This is my skill. And I am a professional musician.
They bring us courage, hope, and love, for freedom is a constant song. Freedom is a constant song. I am so grateful that tonight I saw these marchers come again. No work to do except what's right. No words to say except amen.
Well, I'm staying home more. I mean, the pandemic has helped. It's encouraged me. So what, Jimmy? What I decided to do, because I've written an embarrassing number of songs. Really, I mean, it's not embarrassing. But on everything you could imagine, right?
An embarrassment of riches, perhaps.
Yeah, and Jimmy, I think what you're doing is wonderful. I think it's critically necessary, and I will put as much time into this as you would like to have.
I really appreciate that, Si.
Well,
thank you.
Freedom is a constant song.